Coming up on yet another stay-at-home edition of Movie Show Plus, we're going to hear from more local movie theater chains, big and small, as they tell you what they've been up to during the pandemic and what to look forward to this summer when things hopefully return back to normal. We'll also hear more from Greg Russell.
I don't know why I didn't think that would be that big a deal.
All that plus a whole lot more coming up on Movie Show Plus. Greg Russell, you're back.
I am here. How you doing, Tom?
I'm here too. Hi, everybody. We're here for another stay-at-home edition of Movie Show Plus. If you are an avid watcher of the show, you might think that you're watching us wearing the same clothing that we might have in a previous episode. But I'd like to point out that Greg has been wearing the same T-shirt for the last 3 weeks anyway. So
I actually have the same T-shirt, pants, or sweatpants, I should say. I actually did last week, seriously. I put on an actual pair of pants for the first time in a long time, and it was like, man, this is strange.
Doesn't feel right.
Yeah, right.
Feel right.
Back to the sweatpants. but yeah, pretty much the same outfit.
It's a whole new world, man, out there right now. It's so
sure
crazy.
Is. It certainly is.
We are back again this week, and we have a lot more interviews lined up. Thank you last week, too, for all the response from that episode. But we have more from the movie theaters. There's so much content. So, Greg, I say we just dive right in.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
All right, so I'm here now with Eric Gubert with MJR Digital Cinemas, marketing director. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me here today, Eric.
Absolutely, Tom. Thank you.
So just kind of clue people in, MJR theaters are, all over Michigan. They have a big presence. That jingle before the movie gets stuck in everybody's head, and people love to clap along. It's kind of like this took on a life of its own.
Yes.
Give us a little bit of an update as to what's been going on inside of MJR during this pandemic.
Okay. I mean, obviously, like everyone, we're just, really trying to, make it through till we can reopen again. We've really been trying to stay in contact with all of our moviegoers through social media. We're continuing to post several updates daily on just, anything from movie news or, some activities and stuff like that to keep people kind of busy. So one thing we did do a couple weeks ago was we posted our intro with with our song that everyone claps along to. And it was viewed about 20,000 times. So, people were, playing it before their movie night, and,
Great.
People definitely miss us as we miss them. And so, we can't wait to, get back open. So,
you know what, that, I know it's talked about a lot, but that opening little jingle is such a thing, and it's so important. It's a symbol of this whole communal thing that we're missing. It's
right.
The idea that people clap along to it, and it doesn't matter where I'm at. If I go, I'm a film critic, so if I'm in a packed theater, or if I go to catch a movie on a Thursday night at midnight, there's always at least one or two people in the theater that give that clap at that one moment. You know what I mean? Like it's just a presence. It really is more fun at MJR, by the way. So
yeah, well, I agree.
Where do you see things headed for MJR?
Well, ultimately, we're really just waiting on, when we get the go-ahead from the governor, from the state of Michigan, as to when we can kind of move forward. But of course, we're talking about what we're going to try to, what to expect when we are officially given that green light. And, we're not just sitting on our hands. We're definitely, preparing for that moment so we can kind of hit the ground running once we get that official green light. As to when, we're kind of thinking it's probably going to be closer to June when some of these businesses can start to reopen.
Yeah.
And then we'll just kind of have to go from there.
Let's say you get the green light in Michigan to reopen in May even. Do you think MJR reopens? And if so, what will it be like in that interim period before you have any big movies? Will you be showing older movies? What kind of things would you have planned, or would you decide to stay shut till you have something to show?
I mean, I'd say we definitely would want to open, before we get to that point of having the new larger releases. Like you said, you mentioned Tenet and
Yeah.
Mulan's supposed to be out in July. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely looking at, the studios are making a lot of films of their older catalog available to us. And, we are looking at programs and things, that we can, that are attractive to bring out people. I mean, such as, some big event pictures and comedies and even horror stuff like that. Marathons, back-to-back sequels. We're just going to kind of, we're kicking around some ideas and, nothing official to announce, but that will be, on the docket as far as the content. Because you're right, there is no new product for a while. So
as you know, over the years, like every couple years, every time there's a bad weekend at the box office, there's like articles, is this the end of the movie theater industry? And nobody anticipated a pandemic, I don't think, but
right.
Hopefully, I mean, I don't see people long term giving up on the movie theater industry.
Well, no, and when there's good movies,
Yeah.
that's been the case, for as long as I've worked at the theater, like you have, movies don't perform well, and then it's okay. Then the next one comes out and does really well. I mean, it just, I mean.
And that's what's going to be weird. Somebody was joking online too that they said, the one good thing out of this whole pandemic is that the Oscars are going to be like 20 minutes long next year.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, you take out, a big chunk of business. It's gonna be a long road till things really are, kind of back to normal as everyone's been talking. But I think also what maybe could happen is when theaters start opening up and we're at a certain percentage of theaters in the country, I wouldn't be surprised if studios do start maybe bringing a few more pictures into July and August, as confidence kind of improves, as I'm hoping it will.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. So basically, just because this is the schedule right now as we sit here on April 28th, it doesn't mean that when we get to July and August, it actually might look a lot more fleshed out.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and I'm hoping it doesn't change for the negative, which, because, it's kind of nerve-wracking when you're sitting there watching the schedule getting, first it was like, okay, mid-May was still there, and then they took Scoob out, it's like they just keep,
I get it, yeah.
Absolutely. It just keeps shrinking, so.
There has been, people have heard in the past year, MJR was bought. Is there any effect long term or short term even that, like, the moviegoer, like, are we going to see anything change? What's the from the consumer's perspective, is there any kind of changes in line at MJR?
Yeah, no, I mean, not really. The company still has the key players involved. We're still run locally, from our Bloomfield Hills office. So, we're all still here, and we might have someone else above us, but we're still the same company, and we still have, we're still doing the same thing. So that's, we're not really looking to change anything major anytime soon. So
you said you've been with MJR for how long?
19 years.
19 years,
yes.
man. So
yes.
On a personal level, how weird is it to not be in a theater? I mean, this has been your life.
You're right. Yeah, no, it's very odd. Every Friday, Saturday night, being in the theater, and having weekends now has been very odd. But
what do you think are the main things that you want to get across to the movie-going audience, in regards to feeling safe going out to the movies?
Right. Well, ultimately, our first goal at MJR will be to, do things, according to what the current guidelines are, and so right before we opened, closed rather, we had, went down to 50% capacity. So what that really involved was us basically checkerboarding our auditoriums, and we were only selling every 2 seats. And then, and so that obviously keeps people distanced and so forth. And then, the other things moving forward that we're going to be trying to do are looking at staggering showtimes so that there's less traffic in our lobbies and in our common areas. that also will give us more time to thoroughly clean the auditoriums before each show. I mean, I've seen people are worried about touching the buttons on the recliners and door handles, and we're definitely committed to staying on top of keeping all of these, our condiment areas, and everything is going to be cleaned as we always took that seriously. But in these times is even more important to stay on top of.
Where can people go to get updates from MJR and also to get that opening jingle?
So it is on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm at facebook.com MJR Digital Cinemas. We're also on Twitter as well as on Instagram as well.
What's more of a daunting task? To be on stage in front of hundreds of people, making them laugh, or jumping off the side of a helicopter?
Oh, the helicopter. I don't know why I didn't think that would be that big a deal. But when we got down to doing it, it was a lot scarier than I thought it was going to be. I thought, well, it's water. I'm going to jump in the water. What's the big deal? But when you're up, I think we were about 40 feet up off of the water, and that chopper is, going, and there was another chopper nearby with another camera, and you're waiting for boats to leave. Right. It's not like the area is even locked down like in a normal movie set. It's like, freighters and barges and tugboats are going back and forth the whole time. So we're just waiting for them to clear so we could jump out. But I did it twice, and both times I really had to swallow hard and just do it.
Fantastic. Jerry, thank you so much. And Mark Ridley says hello.
Oh, tell him I said hi. Thanks, Greg.
You got it.
Nurses need our help, now more than ever. The Nurses House COVID-19 Fund helps nurses infected with coronavirus, so they are not financially burdened during their recovery. Go to helpnurses.org to donate.
Hey, welcome back to Movie Show Plus. Now, what we tell you a lot of the time is that the word plus means that we will also talk about things other than movies. And right now we've got a very special thing to talk about with a very special person. Deborah Elliott, nurse, welcome. Glad to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And now your organization is called Nurses House. Tell us a little bit about that.
Nurses House has been around actually since the 1920s. It actually was a home at one point in time. It was a house on Long Island, and it was a place where nurses could go for respite and be cared for by their colleagues. The monies for the house were donated by a woman who was not a nurse, but she had received excellent care, and she wanted a place for nurses to take care of one another. And you remember, in the 1920s, many women that were nurses, their spouses were off at war. When they became ill, they didn't have a place to go. So it was a great start. But in the 60s, the house was sold. It wasn't being used as a house anymore. Times had changed. Society had changed. And the funds were put into an investment account. And that is now where we give out grants to help nurses who are struggling because of illness or injury, and they're unable to work. And so it's usually on a temporary basis that they're out of work, but it's help so they can stay in their homes. We provide grants that pay for rent or mortgage primarily.
Fantastic. And I can only imagine it's got to be really hard for a lot out there now. I mean, even though they're the essential workers, they're the front line essential workers, but in some cases people are still getting laid off or whatever. So right now I know is a time that you guys are probably extremely busy.
Well, we instituted a special grant during the pandemic. It's the Nurses House COVID Emergency Grant. And what we're doing is providing a one-time grant to nurses that are on the front lines, and whether that's in the hospital or in home care or in the nursing homes or in some community agencies that are still operating. And we're providing them with a grant just to give them help when they're unable to work because either they've tested positive or they have a family member who's tested positive or they've been exposed and now need to quarantine.
Well, fantastic. If people want to find out more about your organization or even to make a contribution, where should they go?
nurseshouse.org. Plain and simple.
I was going to say, that's right there, right to the point.
Right there, nurseshouse.org. And there's an area where you can donate. There's an area where you can apply if you're in need. And it's pretty simple. The website's very easy to navigate.
Well, fantastic. Deborah, we're going to get the word out there and see what all we can do, because like I told you, my wife's a nurse. So
I know, that's
anything that
wonderful.
deals with a nurse and that community is something very special in our house.
Well, please give her my best and
I
tell her
will.
thank you from all of us in the profession. We love what we do, and I'm sure she loves what she does. And please stay safe.
You got it. Deborah Elliott, thank you so much. We've got more Movie Show Plus coming up.
So Josh, thanks so much, man, for joining me here today to talk movies under these crazy circumstances. How you been holding up?
Doing good. Watching a lot of movies and just trying to make the most of the situation.
Give us an update. Last time we were out at the Film Lab, it was a different time then. It seems like a couple of thousand years ago, but It was actually just in 2019. Paint a picture for us as to how the Film Lab was doing just prior to mid-March.
Yeah, we were open about 6 months over at the Film Lab in Hamtramck, so we were feeling good. We were making progress. As you mentioned, we'd received the $100,000 grant from the Knight Foundation to restore and renovate the upstairs into a 2-screen theater. The plans with that are still ongoing. Everything is moving forward with that, but unfortunately, due to COVID, obviously we've had to stop screenings in our micro cinema and close down our bar, which was generating a lot of everyday revenue to keep the program going. But things were on the upturn right before this happened.
Now, as part of kind of catching people up with the whole, the effects of this pandemic on the movie-going industry, you are unique, and I'm talking to some of the CEOs of major chains and things like that. You're unique because you guys are truly a small business. I mean, you do a movie theater, but you're a small business.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, we are a really small business. It's run by my partner, Lars Fire, and myself. We have 5 employees who help us sell tickets and make drinks and run everything over at the theater. So we are a super tight, small knit organization, just getting started, just getting off our feet, just working off all the costs that it took to get everything up and started. So our revenue was, of course, made through bar sales, concession sales, ticket sales, and that's all had to completely stop due to the stay-at-home order. But we've had a really supportive community, and we launched a membership program, and we've been selling ticket packs so people can buy like a 5-pack, 10-pack ticket for once we reopen, and same with the memberships, which offers different benefits. So people have been super supportive and want to see us be able to continue showing the amazing films from all over the world that we do. So we felt lucky that there's been such support from the community in that sense, that they want to see us really thrive and not let this closure take us down. And it's mostly just the uncertainty. That's the hard part. We don't know when we'll be able to reopen. And then once we do reopen, we don't know what the reality will be in terms of how comfortable people will be feeling about going out to the movies or bars or restaurants.
One angle of this whole thing where you are maybe in a unique position, and I know you know about this because you deal with the distribution side of things. A lot of the larger chains are having this issue about, we might be allowed to open, in May or June, but we don't have anything to really show because a lot of the major pictures are not, they've all dropped off the schedule until at least July or beyond. Being that you show a lot of independent films, a lot of films that aren't seeing massive distribution, maybe positions you slightly better because if you might be one of the only theaters in the short term that actually has content to show.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And also something of note is probably at least half of what we do is repertory programming, so films that are not new. So in that sense, it wouldn't change. We would still be able to do the series that we do. We were just doing in March a Women in Film series that had a film Daisies from the Czech New Wave that we weren't able to show, and a lot of other really great films that were on our calendar that we didn't get to do, and we'd still be able to do those eventually once we reopen because those aren't reliant on new releases. But yeah, in terms of new releases, we're not reliant on blockbusters, and we work with a lot of really great small distributors who have a lot of content that they want to get out there, and they're not expecting to be in these giant multiplexes. anyways. So it might not affect us in the same way. And the distributors have been really supportive. A lot of them have launched virtual cinema programs. So it was content that was maybe in the process of being released when the shutdowns happened, that they were able to put the content online, and they are able to kind of connect it to different local art house theaters. So you can come to like the Film Lab, and when you buy a ticket, it supports us in the same way when you would buy a ticket in person. So every theater has their own individual link. So it's kind of VOD, but it's a new concept in that you're actually supporting the theaters, and it's a 50-50 split of tickets, similar to what it would be in person. It's actually allowed us to show more movies than we would have, and a more diverse content than we would have if we were open. So it's a new world, we're adjusting to it, but really feel grateful to the distributors for working with us in that way.
That's fantastic, and I've seen that on a lot of your social media. This concept of virtual cinema, which I think people are starting to kind of. There's a curiosity as to what that means at first, but to hear that they're still able to support the local theaters, I think is a big draw to why people might want to try this out. Where do people go, right now to support the Film Lab? Would they just show up to your website? Is there a specific way that they would get access to these links?
Yeah, if you show up to our website, there's a link for the virtual cinema, and all the titles are listed there. Right now, we're releasing 3 new titles every Friday, and they stick around for 2 weeks each, so you have a good amount of chance to catch them. You can see them there, and then we also have links for our memberships, donations, ticket packages, all the different ways that you can support us to continue supporting the arts community, both here, Hamtramck, Metro Detroit, and the larger art cinema world that we support as well.
Do you foresee the virtual cinema thing being a temporary kind of stopgap, or do you kind of think that that's a thing that might be here to stay moving forward?
Yeah, I'm actually really interested in the concept of it moving forward. Like I said, it allows us a really small micro cinema to show more films than we would normally. Mm-hmm. So I can see that in a case where maybe we don't have a chance to bring it to our micro cinema. But since we only have 1 screen, and multiplexes sometimes have 12 screens, so they're able to show a lot more films. So maybe there's a movie we really wanted to show, we didn't get the chance, and we can show it in our virtual cinema and offer it to our audience to watch at home. Or the other way that I think it could really be beneficial for us and cool is normally we only show movies for 1 week at a time. So let's say someone wasn't able to make it out that week for whatever reason. Maybe we could show it in a virtual cinema for the following week, and gives people another chance if they missed it in person that, there's kind of an exclusive window where you see it in person, and if you missed it there, maybe you'll still be able to watch it from home and still be able to click through the Film Lab link, and it's supporting us in the same way as if you were coming in person.
Well, Josh, you have a big fan in myself and Movie Show Plus. The minute I even discovered your guys' Film Lab, I was very prone to want to be very supportive of you guys. So I wish you nothing but the best through all this, man, and hope you can stay strong and that people flock 6 feet apart, of course, to the Film Lab once we're able to.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Well, Greg, the good news is every episode that we get through of Movie Show Plus leads us 1 week closer to us being back to normal, hopefully normal.
Right.
And back in public and back in the movie theaters where we can enjoy films on the big screen the way that they are intended.
That's for sure. I look forward to that. I do figure, however, when it first starts out, it is definitely going to be a different experience than what we're accustomed to.
Yep. Absolutely. As we've been hearing from all these theaters, there's lots of steps in place. It's going to take some time for people to, regain confidence in their ability to get out into these theaters. We wish everybody out there is staying safe and healthy. And, we do hope to be back out in the community. If you are a local business or know of a local business, though, that could benefit from our show, reach out to us. We would love to chat with you and kind of find out, what's going on with you. There's the information on the screen right there. As again, we try to just continue to support local businesses moving forward as we get closer and closer to our new normal. But Greg, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to see you, and thanks for letting me stay in London again this week.
Yeah, man, that was really cool of you to fly out to London just for that shot. And
there you go.
Everybody tune in next week. We're going to keep doing this Movie Show Plus thing. So everybody stay tuned, and we'll come back at you with new content week after week.
And great to see you, Tom, and as always, the best to you and your family, and stay safe. And that goes for all of you out there.
Thank you, Greg.
Check out movieshowplus.com to watch this episode online and for exclusive content, extended interviews with Greg Russell, and a complete archive of movie reviews with Tom Santilli. Also, make sure to like and follow us on social media and on our Movie Show Plus YouTube channel.
Next time on Movie Show Plus.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.